I'm a photographer, and today I'm going to talk about ideas. Not just what the photo looks like at the end of the day, but how I get to the point of taking the photo and how important it is to grasp an idea when you actually get it. Not to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect day, the perfect people, but to just step in and take the photo, grasp the ideas that you have. And this can be applied to any creative field, or even fields which aren't explicitly creative, because I think that creativity lends to every field that we have in the world around us. So in short, what I want to discuss today is the idea that an idea does not belong to you until you take action to claim it. I'm not trying to suggest that this is anything original or something that hasn't been spoken about before. I have definitely heard other creators speak about this, and one source in particular, which I have not personally investigated, but to give credit to it, is I have heard people talk about The Creative Act, A Way of Being, a book by Rick Rubin, and he discusses this very idea of ideas being their own beings in a sense. And I don't know what he actually says about it. I have not read the book and I haven't really looked into it. Like I said, I kind of wanted to do this on my own thoughts because this is something that I have experienced so many times in my life, and I just want to talk about that and then also talk about how it's influenced my photography journey and how grasping ideas has taken me so much further than trying to make perfect art. Ideas do not belong to you until you take action to claim them. I think that so many people imagine that the ideas they have are incredibly original and that no one's ever thought of it and no one's ever going to think about it. But what I've realized about ideas and about creativity is we are only the vessel through which creativity flows. We in ourselves generate creativity, but we are not creativity. We can be creative, and that's very important for us to be creative, but we need to remember and to realize that ideas flow naturally, that they have almost a sense of being on their own, and that they want to be brought to life. They want to be shown to the world, to be shared. And if you're not the one who's going to do that, the idea is going to go to somebody else. And it's not that they're stealing your ideas. I'm not talking about plagiarism or stealing people's ideas, like you see something cool on Instagram and you copy it or something like that. I'm not talking about that at all. I mean the idea that you've had deeply inside you and you've been kind of preserving it or mulling over it, kind of like aging it. And sometimes that is required. Sometimes we need to do that. But that idea that you're like, one day when I'm older, or one day when I have the skills, I'm going to do this thing. And then you walk out one day and you've never told anybody about this. Or maybe you've told some of your closest friends, people you really trust, and they haven't betrayed you, by the way. And you walk out and you see your idea on a big billboard, or your idea in a magazine, or your idea on social media. And you're like, how did this person come up with that? That was my idea. But there's absolutely no connection between you and this person. And the reason for that is I think ideas seek people to bring them to life. And if you're not ready to bring them to life, then they'll find somebody else. I'm not trying to discuss like what's fair and what's not fair and whether you're supposed to take ideas from other people. Please don't do that. I'm not telling you to steal ideas or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is when you have an idea, do everything you can to bring that idea to life. Put action behind it. Show your investment. And it seems kind of strange. It's like, but these are things in my head. How do they know? Do they care? And it doesn't matter what you kind of believe about it in the specifics or technicality on how it works. I know for a fact when you don't take action and do things, you're stealing from yourself, you're stealing from those around you, and someone else will end up doing what you thought you were going to do, because ideas are a lot less original than what we think they are. Originality comes from doing, from showing, and from developing things, from putting yourself into it. Having an idea is not original. We all have ideas all the time. You would be shocked if you actually sat down with some people, people you know and people you don't know, and actually just ask them, like, what ideas do you have in your mind? Things that you've never taken the time to act on. And people are full of ideas. but it's the ones who actually take action that are set apart from those who just think about it. So for myself, I'm going to go even further back than when I was doing photography. When I was really, really young, this was probably the time when I think this concept of ideas, looking for someone to express them, was first started in me. I don't know how old, I must have been 9 or 10 years old, and I was super, super into fashion. I wanted to grow up to be a fashion designer. I drew all these beautiful clothes. I had like these little books and things, like you get these for kids, like where they have like models and you just kind of color in and you draw your clothes on them and stuff. And I had some really, I think, genuinely, like as an adult, I still think I had some really cool designs. And I did this one design in particular where I'd never seen this ever before. And I mean, I used to watch old movies too and things, so like I had kind of a mix of different eras, at least from the 20th century, different eras of fashion and kind of different ideas. So kind of modern fashion and the last 100 years, I had a good grasp of what it kind of looked like. So it wasn't like, yeah, and it was very much a modern design, not something you would have had before then. Anyway, it was very simple. I drew a really long floor-length skirt, but it was made out of a sheer fabric. And then underneath that, I had a skirt that was like just above the knee, and that was made from another fabric. So you could see the skirt underneath from the outside skirt. And I was like, this is incredible. No one's ever done this. I've never seen this anywhere. And I don't know if it was a year or 2 years later, probably about 2 years later, I saw these skirts everywhere. It became the biggest fashion trend. So this was the early 2010s. Biggest fashion trend. Everywhere, everyone was drawing it. I was like, that's so unfair. Because like in my mind, like I would have done this. I would have made this the biggest fashion trend. I was just waiting until it was old enough. Like I was like 10 years old. And I started thinking like, but where did they get this idea? Because I mean, like I told my mom and maybe a couple of my friends, but there's no way that they had anything to do with this fashion thing happening all over the world. And so, yeah, it was kind of a little devastating because I was too young to do anything. I wasn't like mad that anyone stole my idea, but it was just this concept that started growing in me. Ideas have a life of their own and they want to be seen. So then fast forward to when I started doing photography, and at the beginning of my photography journey, I did a 6-month course in Australia, and it was focused on photography. And so I did a lot of projects there, and it was like kind of forcing you to act on your ideas and also giving you inspiration for your ideas and like, yeah, just all of that, which I think was great and gave me a great boost in photography and growing my skills, because there was technical sides, there was creative sides. It was really nice. And obviously also just having other creatives around you. We had quite a nice group. And so sharing ideas, bouncing ideas off of each other, all of these things. Anyway, point is, after that, I kind of, well, I was fully responsible in making myself do things and making myself implement my ideas and explore my creativity. And I became lazy. I definitely did. And there's also the side of like, then you have to find your own models, where we were kind of modeling for each other and we had so many other people around. It was so easy. And now I have to go and ask these people that maybe I don't know that well, or my friends, or so. I'm like, hey, do you want to be in pictures? And not everyone's not everyone's comfortable in front of a camera. And so all of this is kind of really, really slowed me down, and I started having these ideas, and I'm like, one day when I'm really skilled and really good, because I knew I wasn't as good at photography as what I wanted to be. It was really early on in my journey, and I still had a lot to learn, and I knew my shortcomings. I was like, one day when I'm really good, then I'm gonna do this idea, then I'm gonna do that thing, then I'm going to whatever. And I waited, and then I would really struggle to find other ideas. That was the interesting thing. I would sit and I would have these brilliant ideas, and I would struggle because I was trying to hold them back, trying to save them, for one day. And I realized I couldn't think of other ideas that I thought were good enough to try. So that's the other interesting thing about this, which I don't fully understand, but I think that when you have really good ideas, even when you're not ready for them, you may not be getting other ideas. And you really just have to step into the ones that you already have. And so then one day I decided, all right, we're just going to do it. We're going to actually take these photos, even though I don't personally feel prepared for it. I'm going to take these photos and see what happens. I can redo them in the future. Even though the idea is out there, that's the other thing I was afraid of. Like, what if I take these pictures and then other people see it? They have better skill and they do similar things. And then I feel like I gave away my idea. And what happened when I started doing these ideas, and what motivated me the most to continue doing this, was suddenly I had more ideas. And in hindsight, it seems so obvious, but I would do these things and some of them turned out incredibly, way better than I ever imagined. And others I really, I can't say I regret it because it grew me, but I just wish there was like a little switch or a button where I could have had more skill or been more prepared, because they just were not what I wanted them to be. They didn't look the way I liked. And so either way, I grew and the ideas started flowing in. The more I implemented ideas, the more ideas came to me. It was kind of like I was proving that I was worthy of ideas. That sounds really weird when I say it out loud, but it's like saying, hey, if you as an idea come and trust me in my mind and my heart, where I'm developing you, I will grow you and I will implement you. I will put action behind you. And yeah, also in all of this, I'm not saying that these are not your ideas. These are 100% your ideas, and please take credit for them. But if you don't act on them, you cannot take credit. And if you don't act on them, they aren't worth to you what they could be worth to you, and you're not worth to them what you could be worth to them. So all of this, I think, is just an encouragement to step into it. I'll show you one of the photo shoots I did that I was so proud of. I might risk it and show you one of the photo shoots that kind of disappointed me as well. But this one in particular, this was like a massive turning point for me. I put a lot of effort into this photo shoot, not necessarily on the technical, oh, well, both. Actually, technical side, every side. So I got a friend of mine. I asked her, hey, do you want to model for me? We'd never worked together. I was just like, hey, I love your look, I love your style. And we started talking about this a couple months in advance. And she went back home. We were both living in Cape Town, and she went back home, and we were literally messaging each other about like wardrobe choices, because she had a lot more clothes back home. She's like picking dresses, sending me photos. We picked out the wardrobe. So she brought that with her. Then I wanted to get up on this massive rock. We were doing it at the beach, massive rock at sunrise. And so I needed to find a ladder somewhere. And I got this ladder, but it was so long. It was like sticking out the back of my car. So I had my boot open and the thing was sticking out the back. Thankfully, there was no traffic. It was way too early in the morning. And she was basically sitting in the back seat, holding this thing so that it doesn't fall out, because we didn't have ropes or anything, fall out the back of my car. And I was driving really slowly to the beach. Thankfully, it was like 10 minutes away, this specific spot, because I lived like 2 minutes away from the beach. And we get there, then we had to set up the ladder and get her up there, which went pretty well. We're both really adventurous, so that was helpful. Got her up there. Then I took the ladder away, so she's just stranded up there. She was totally cool with it. Then the next challenge is, yes, the sun is rising and it's beautiful, and she can't hear me because we're at the beach. She's up on this tall rock, and I'm just yelling at her, giving her like vague general instructions, like dance around, spin, hold your hand, like, but she can barely hear me. So I'm like trying to give actions and like communicate to her like through charades. Anyway, it still went really well. Then when the sun was up a little bit, I climbed up onto the rock as well, and I took some close-up photos, which were also incredibly stunning. Then we both climbed down and we took a few more pictures in the waves, and I think all of them were really, really beautiful. Everyone I showed this photo shoot to was raving about it. It's still to this day, I don't know, it's like 4 or 5 years ago that I took these photos. Still to this day, one of my favorite photo shoots, and especially certain photos. Then I jumped into editing, and this was the first time I was like playing around with masks. And if you don't know what masking is in editing, you basically select a certain person, subject, or part of the photo. It can be your sky, it can be your background, your foreground, whatever. And you're only going to edit that piece. And so at this point, I wasn't working with Flash yet. It was really scary to me, I'll be honest. And that's one of the areas where I was lacking in skill. I look at these photos and I know that if I had Flash, they would be even better, like a million times better. But I did really well for what I was doing at that point. And so I jumped in and I started using masks. And these pictures in particular, I used the masks the most prominently. And it just changed it. And after that, I was using masks on everything. I think I overdid it after that for a while. But just loved this photo shoot. It was so, so good. I have kind of blocked out of my mind a little bit, I'll be honest, some of the photo shoots which I was disappointed in. There were definitely a few where I would just take the pictures and I knew while I was taking it, I wasn't satisfied. And I knew when I was editing, I wasn't satisfied. That's the other thing. My skill level in editing, I find editing, I think it's a personal thing. I don't think this is for everyone, but I find editing a lot harder than actually the skill of taking the photos. Because there's a lot of skill that goes into both sides. I'm not saying one is harder than the other, and it also depends on what you're doing, like whether you're doing flash photography, are you shooting in manual mode on your camera, things like this. Like I still struggle with flash photography. I still have a lot to learn there, but I love it, and I'm going to keep learning. When it comes to manual mode, in the beginning it was really confusing to me, but it came a lot easier still, because like individually I understood each thing, whether it was shutter speed or aperture or ISO, like I understood each individual. I just didn't know how to make them work together. But when it comes to editing, there is just so much you can do and so many things, and you can so easily like tweak one thing and you're like, that's going to be amazing, and tweak another thing, and individually they're going to be great, maybe. I still don't think I can even do that, but together suddenly everything looks ruined. And so I just think editing has always been a bit of my nemesis. Anyway, I've gone way off track. There's definitely some shoots, and I might go and dig and put dates with it as well, like some of the photos just to show also my growth, even though that's scary. But I have some photo shoots where I took the idea and I put it out there, and I was really disappointed, not with the idea, but with the execution. And so that's going to happen. But the important thing is to take your ideas and to put them out there. And I think I've slowed down on that, which is tough. And I always know that when I slow down, the ideas slow down as well. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I like have one or two ideas where normally I have tons of ideas and they're just like flowing in. And I'm like, it's so hard now to execute these because I feel all the more pressure on me. And I feel even more like, how am I going to get this right? Because I don't know, I think I make up reasons as well. But getting that momentum back is difficult, and the more you do it, the more ideas come. And I know there will be more ideas, but I think what I'm struggling with at the moment is coming back to George, which is my hometown, leaving Cape Town. Cape Town was so familiar. I knew more people there. I knew more locations, more, like I didn't have to go out and scout as much. Here, I feel like if I use somebody like, hey, would you model for this creative shoot that I want to do? And I'm specifically talking about creative shoots and more the artistic side of the photography that I do, not hiring me for something like a wedding or whatever. But I feel like if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to ask a person or choose a location, I am going to run out of locations and I'm going to run out of people. I won't run out of ideas, but I'll run out of the means to execute those ideas. And I think that's one of the things holding me back. But it shouldn't. I should just go out and take photos. Anyway, this is kind of my thoughts on ideas and taking hold of ideas, because it's not yours until you act on it. And that is such an important principle to remember. Also, when you do act on it, it's going to bring more ideas. The more you act on ideas, the more you give them the credit that they deserve through you implementing them, the more ideas will come to you. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with this idea? Do you have other ideas that's maybe a little contrasting or a little differing from this? And which ideas have you recently implemented, or what are the things you're setting off that you now realize you really need to do? Like, I'd love to hear your comments specifically on the ideas that you've had and that you've kind of been putting off. And just put it here as your first step of, I'm going to actually step into this idea. You don't have to put any specifics, but just like a general or even a vague thing, something that just reminds you, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to implement this idea. I'm going to see this thing grow. I'm going to put the action in it so that it becomes my idea. And yeah, I hope this takes you guys into many, many more ideas in the future. And if you liked some of my thoughts on the topic or just some of my photos, You can follow me on Instagram, or you can also subscribe to my channel and see more videos come out every Friday.